Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Graco Garage. In today's episode, I'm going to discuss how to fix a leaking fitting in your Invisipac's outlet manifold. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing leaking hose adapter fittings in the back of your Invisipac melter manifold. A common problem in the field is when the jam nut on hose adapter fittings is tightened down too far. This causes the O-ring to sit on the threads of the fitting as opposed to on its flat sealing surface. This causes a leak path through the threads underneath the O-ring, and the adhesive can leak out and form stalagmites, as you can see on the Invisipac here. All right guys, first things first, we want to create a safe working environment. So turn off your air pressure and disconnect that electrical to make sure we depressurize and de-energize the system. In today's fix, we've got several tools we're going to be using. We've got an 11/16 wrench for the jam nut. We've got a 9/16 wrench for the body of the fitting, as well as a 1/4-inch Allen wrench in case you should need to remove any several optional tools as well. We've got a light in case you're working in a dim environment and need just a little bit more light to see what you're working on, as well as some O-ring picks. For gloves today, we've got a basic set of mechanics gloves which offer more dexterity but don't have any thermal reinforcement. We also have some heat reinforced gloves but remove a little bit more dexterity as they are a little bit thicker to provide that thermal insulation. Okay, so our leaky fitting here has created quite a mess, and since I know this is an old fitting with a hardened O-ring, I'm going to be taking this off and installing our new fitting with that fresh O-ring in the properly installed location. So first we want to break our hose loose and completely disconnect our hose. Next we need to break the fitting loose and uninstall it. All right guys, so as these fittings come from the factory, the jam nut can be tightened down too far, causing this O-ring to sit in the threads of the fitting as opposed to the flat surface that's going to create a good seal. This can create a leak through the threads of the fitting underneath the O-ring that accumulates around the back of the melter, typically over a few weeks to a few months, creating stalagmites of glue that build up from the ground. So the easy fix to this problem is to, before installing these fittings in the melter, to loosen that jam nut as much as possible, push this O-ring or push this washer back as far as possible. Now if I pull this O-ring out of the way, you can see that sealing surface. And I'll try and frame it here for you guys. So you can see that sealing surface that the O-ring is supposed to sit on. So now if we push that O-ring back up against the washer, now when I thread the fitting into the melter, it'll tighten down. Now when we start to meet resistance, we know we've got plenty of adjustment for this O-ring on its sealing face. Now we tighten it down until we feel resistance. We adjust for the angle that we want, and then we tighten the jam nut down, locking it in place. Now with our jam nut loosened all the way back, we can install that fitting until it becomes tight against the washer, back it off to our desired angle, and now while holding it in place, we can tighten that jam nut down, sealing that O-ring against the body of the melter and against the flat surface of the fitting, creating a nice fluid seal. Now we reinstall our hose, tighten it down appropriately. All right guys, so we've got our new leak-free fitting installed. We've cleaned up the back of the Invisipac, so this baby's ready to go back out on the line. As always, great job today, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Graco Garage.